Hi, and welcome back to Urbcast, my podcast about cities, architecture, urbanism, people, but also ideas for a better urban future. And today we are in Denmark. We are traveling to Billund, which is the hometown of Lego, the famous company producing Lego bricks, to talk about a project that takes the company's philosophy of creativity and turns into urban design. My guest is Christian Nørgaard, who is the project director at Kirkbi, which is the holding company behind Lego, which is responsible for the development of a new neighborhood in Billund, namely the Travbyen project. It's gonna be a new neighborhood built around one simple idea: what if play could shape the way we design cities? We'll talk about how streets can actually invite curiosity, how architecture can balance order and chaos, and why "Please walk on the grass" sign might be the best one to rule the public space. So let's dive in and discuss the role of the playfulness in public spaces in a new development in Billund, together with Christian. Hello and welcome, Christian, to Urbcast.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to talk today about this extremely exciting project, which is called Travbyen in Danish, and it is a project in Denmark. But before we dive into this big and ambitious development, I would love you to introduce yourself and also the company that you work for, because, there's a lot of people from many different countries listening to the podcast. So let's make them more familiar with your work.
So to start with myself, my name is Christian, and I am project director for, at least in our ecosystem, a relatively big urban development in the town called Billund. People normally don't really know, at least internationally, what Billund is, but people might know the Lego bricks and the Legoland parks. And Billund is the hometown of Lego, basically. And the company I work for is Kirkbi. It is the holding and investment and family office company behind Lego. So we support the owner family in whatever activities they would like us to focus on. And of course, they would like us to underline Lego and help Lego. But there are also other agendas. And one of them is to develop urban development in Billund. Make new houses for new families because the town is growing organically, because the companies are growing. And we would like to support that.
Is the Billund and Lego the same story as, for example, Sønderborg, in which where we met a couple of weeks ago at the conference Rethinking Cities summit? And in case of Sønderborg, this is Danfoss, which is the big company that is headquartered there. But we can also name some other examples. Like, for example, in Germany, there is Wolfsburg with Volkswagen factories. What's the relation in case of Lego?
In our case, and I think you're totally right, Marcin, that the similarity is there, that you have these family-owned companies that have been through generations in the same town and still remain the head office in the same town. And it goes for Sønderborg, and it goes for Wolfsburg, and you could name other companies around the globe where these strong ties between family and town, they just stick. And it's also the same in Billund, where Lego was started 3-4 generations ago. And it is now the fourth generation ownership that we have for Kirkbi/Lego. And I work for Kirkbi in the holding company.
I think what's interesting to me is that, a lot of companies, they move to bigger cities, like in last decades, and still obviously people move to the cities where everything happens, where innovation happens. So why did a company like Lego and you as Kirkbi decided to stay in Billund, which is, compared to other cities in Denmark, let's say Copenhagen and Aarhus, quite a small one?
I think it's a little bit on the edge of what I can talk to, because I'm just a project developer in Kirkbi. But at the end of the day, there are just very strong ties between town and the history is super important for this family. As I guess it's also important for Grundfos, Danfoss, Maersk, Bestseller, a lot of other companies that they feel a responsibility to support and also lean upon history and stay where they are. And it's the same in our case that our headquarters is in Billund. But we do, of course, have hubs around the globe. Lego have hubs around the globe, other offices, other factories. So it's not the only place, but the headquarters here.
So in other words, there is this relationship, the long-lasting relationship between the company and the town. And this is why you also care about the development of a project such as Travbyen. And I can imagine that this project, it couldn't happen anywhere else.
I think it could happen somewhere else, but maybe not with us as developer, as investor. And I think the starting point for our development is that in 2015, we could see from the company perspective and the town could see that, okay, now the businesses are growing much faster than the town is growing. And you have just some really bad examples of businesses taking over the town, becoming way too big, basically eating the town. And we didn't want that from a company perspective. And the town, of course, didn't want to be eaten by some big companies, not only us, but also other companies. So therefore, we made, together with the municipality of Billund, a master plan for how can we develop both town and give space for the businesses to develop and grow as well. And this master plan is basically the Bible, not literally, but it is the roadmap we use when we do all our projects here in Billund. And it's both from the municipality, it's other private developers, and it is, of course, also Lego and Kirkbi. So we follow that very strictly. And in this vision from 2015, our master plan, this area with the trotting lane, there was a trotting lane just outside town, and it was actually the last piece of puzzle. If you look at the map from above, if you go with a drone and look down on Billund, you can see that the trotting lane was the last piece of land in the center of Billund that could be developed. And we thought it would maybe be something for us to buy this piece of land and then develop it to benefit both our companies as well as the town.
And how did this collaboration with the city look like? I'm very interested about the development process where you have the private and the public bodies collaborating for creating this common vision. Were there some challenges in such a collaboration, such a process?
I think there's challenges in all corporations. Even my marriage, we have discussions from time to time. I mean, it's part of having two agendas that need to become one. That they have some interest and we have some interest. And I think the respect for both parties. I mean, I need to keep a respect for the municipality and the political system and the people of Billund. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to make a master plan and make a vision for the town. And it would just kick back on us, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15 years, I don't know. So there need to be from both sides a respect for the other part and understand where the other side is coming from. Sometimes we have some initiatives that we would like to go with, but we can also, when we talk to the municipality, we can hear that it's taking it too far. They can't follow us on a certain initiative. So it's an ongoing dialogue between public and private. And sometimes it's easier than others, but I think the investment in trying to behave and respect the other party just pays back very well in the long run.
And how do you view the long-term commitment to such a project? Because the political short-termism is something that is challenging projects everywhere in Europe, I guess in Denmark as well. So how do you make sure that the vision is prolonged, is continued, even though some of the parties involved change? The mayor can change, And even in the company, of course, like people change, but the vision has to be there for the project to succeed, right?
Yeah, and it's not just the project, it's for the whole town development and company development here. Honestly, I don't think change of politicians have meant so much because the roadmap is super strong and the value that is created through developing according to this roadmap is beneficial for both. So maybe I'm a little bit the wrong person to talk with about this because, as I said, of course, we don't align and agree on everything, but in the long run, the big decisions, we do agree with each other. We need to align with each other. It's a must.
Another question, which might be a bit of a challenge because we don't have slides. This is a podcast, so people will listen to it. But I would love to ask you to describe the project. And obviously, we can add the link to the description of the project and to the project website or presentation if you would like to share any. But how would you describe in words what the Travbyen project is? What's the ambition of the project?
It is a little bit difficult to describe without pictures, but I'll try to paint some vocal pictures of it. The place where I grew up when I was a child was a very standard family house / villa area. You had a very long road with some side roads, and then you had houses just next to each other. And then you had small hedges between each garden, and then people could just grill and play football in their own garden. It's complete opposite with Travbyen. Here we have taken down the hedges, we have taken down the private gardens and stuff like that. We have given a little bit of privacy to each house, yes, but there are a lot of shared space outside so that you can be together with others. You can also be on your own because there is a little bit of privacy. But basically, you share the streets, you share the backyards with your neighbors. And another thing that is maybe worth picturing also, that cars can go into the small narrow streets. They need to go slow because they're very narrow, and it's by purpose. And you can, of course, leave your luggage if you've been out traveling, or if you've been to Bauhaus or wherever and buy some materials and stuff like that, maybe picked up your kids from kindergarten. You can, of course, go to your house and afterwards you then just need to go to the shared parking lots, parking houses, because the cars sleep with the other cars in the parking houses. They don't sleep in the streets. And it's something that we have seen from other developments. If you let cars take up space in the public space, they just kill life. And we want to have a vibrant and alive urban development here. And I can't guarantee that we will get that, but at least I can make the fundamental stuff there, the backdrop, so to speak, so that the chance of people getting out of their houses, drinking coffee with their neighbor, playing with the neighbor boy, orchestrating some shared eating activities and stuff like that. I mean, people meet each other if you take the cars out of the street. That's just something we have seen from other developments. So I think if you come from the outside, you could probably say that it's, and I say this with a smile, it's a little bit hippie because it is small and narrow. You have wild flowers and green everywhere. And then you make space for people before practicalities like cars. And then it's a mix. It's a mix of houses. So you have apartments, you have terraced houses, you have urban villas, and they are mixed in between each other. So you would have, in one house, you could have a big family, and next to that, you could have maybe a couple at my own age where the kids have moved out, and I want to spend more time on traveling, so I have a smaller house, and they're living door by door.
Is this type of lifestyle something that people subscribe to before moving in? So are people aware that this is, quotes, the more hippie environment, and that your car has to stay away, at least from the, it's not going to stay in front of the house, but a bit further. And obviously, as we know, in many cities, cars are such a problematic topic because people do want to have cars so close, as close as possible.
I think you have actually the opposite. If you look at cities that have taken out the cars, if you go to Kent, if you go to Barcelona, if you go to Bologna, if you go to Utrecht, it's not necessarily the whole city center where they have taken out all the cars, but in certain areas, and they have done it differently. But you can just see that, of course, traffic accidents go down because if you have less cars, there's also less cars bumping into people. You can also see that there are more people on the streets. You can see that retail bloom. And you can see that the prices go up. So people actually want to pay more for an area that is vibrant compared to an area where you can park your car on the street in front of your door. And it is a little bit, you can say it's a little bit bold in a small town like Billund to make an urban area where people, they are driving for everything in this town here. They drive 500 meters to go shopping, for instance. And then we come in from the right saying, you can take your car, but you need to go 150 to 300 meters to the shared parking lot to pick it up before you can go shopping or, whatever, where you're going.
Then it doesn't make sense to drive to the store.
And that is basically also the purpose. It is to make people a little bit aware of, do we really need to go by car? And we are not forcing people not to go by car. They can go by car if they want to. But basically, it's a little bit of a nudging thing we are doing here to say, if it's easier to take your bike or your scooter or walking, maybe we'll drive less in our cars then. Maybe we don't need two cars. Maybe we could just have one car because we can walk or bike to whatever we need within 15 minutes. So Billund is a 15-minute town. You can reach everything within foot or bike within 15 minutes.
I was wondering about those patterns of a small town because obviously, in many bigger cities, the transportation is working very well. So you might not need a car, but it's different in some smaller cities or towns. There's like a lot of examples from Poland where once you live in a smaller town on a village, you are kind of forced to use the car. So this is definitely a bit different with Billund, where you might still have this, be used to use the car, but then when you are part of Travbyen, this is not the case anymore.
Well, as I said, you're allowed to use your car. You just need to go 150 to 300 meters to get your car. So that is the trait you need to think about when you move in. Am I willing to do that? And we, of course, know that a lot of people who move in here, some will work for Lego, some will work for the municipality, some will work for other companies. They can walk or bike even faster than going in a car to work. And then they might have a partner who is going to out of town. And of course, they then need a car or public transportation, even though I think most would go with a car or share car services. And they need a space for that. And that's also what we create. We create space. It's just not taking up the best space in town, which is the street between two houses or four houses or in front of the community house. It's taken a little bit to the backside of everything so that we leave streets for people.
So you basically provide space for other activities, and one of them is play. And this is something that I would love to discuss because I know that was one of the backbones of the project. Could you tell us why play is so important?
Yeah, well, since we are the holding company of Lego, play is super natural and important for us. And what we are curious at in this project here is, okay, what impact can play have if we think it in design? And we think it has an impact. And when we talk to our colleagues in Lego, who are the play designers, and also we got help from the design school in Kolding, who is also very much helping Lego and us and themselves to develop play and play thinking. We could just see the benefit of using play design in urban development and in architecture. And what we have leaned upon is it's a thinking where you imagine that you have a green park, and out of the blue comes a ball and some kids, and they start playing. So the green park is pretty orderly. The ball is unruly. It can go everywhere. The kids can kick it wherever and pick it up again. And this mix of orderly and chaos/unruly is key in play. So if you have something that is super orderly, like the park, for instance, play doesn't happen by itself. You need something that can shake this orderliness. And a ball can do that. And a lot of other things can do that. And this is a theory that is developed by a PhD from design school. And the good thing that we saw when we presented this thinking of if you have some architectural design or a urban plan that is super orderly, like the place where I was a kid, that had these very strict streets and very orderly gardens and hedges and stuff like that, then the kids need to be more to drive more imagination into play. In this urban development, it's a little bit the opposite. Here it's a little bit chaos. It's a little bit like the kids' room. It can be a little bit chaotic, and then you have some orderliness that mixes into this. And it's not to create something in the middle that is half orderly, half chaos. It's more to have the contrast. So you could have a very chic and fine and posh architecture, but then you add a funny color to the door or turn the windows around 80 degrees or 90 degrees, or you make something fun out of the water tubes where the water comes down on the house or whatever. And it's something that maybe is a little bit annoying, but it also triggers creativity and curiosity. And creativity and curiosity is a big part of play. And when we put this set of lenses, you can see the orderliness and the chaos, the unruliness, and gave this set of lenses to the architects, it was actually quite intuitive to them to say, okay, I have drawn something here that is super orderly. And trust me, in Denmark, we have a long tradition for doing something with the nice lines and something smooth and aesthetic, very balanced and stuff like that. And then comes this company of play and say, make it a little bit more chaotic, please. And it worked super well with the architects, because now they got some kind of tool where they could actually talk about it. So they got a vocabulary so that they could talk about, maybe we need a little bit here to shake it. Maybe we need to do something here. We're using another material. Maybe we should turn the whole house a little bit so that it's not so straight and so. And we can just see when we look in the model, when we go down the streets, because it is in construction right now, that it's just the people I show around on site, they just think it's super nice just to get a little bit lost. And we want people to get lost and maybe come home late for dinner with their family because they got lost and started playing and talking with someone else, because that's part of life.
So it's about encouraging and unlocking creativity, imagination, and playfulness. So instead of putting a sign, don't step on the grass or don't skateboard, you actually encourage that.
Yeah, I think if we should have a sign, and I'm not a fan of signs, it would be, please walk on the grass. Or please take care of the pavement and use the grass instead, or something like that. It would be a little bit the opposite of what you would normally see then.
What is different in this project in Travbyen than in other urban developments? I guess play is a big part of it, but what about the sustainability ambitions?
Well, I think adding in play is sustainability, because play is basically, for us, it's a design tool, it's a mechanism where it's a language where we can add in a new perspective on design. And it is, at least in our opinion and our thinking, it is supporting social sustainability. So quality of life, so to speak. And play and to play and live is not the same, but it's so strongly connected. So if we use play mechanisms, it also have a positive effect on life. So that's the social sustainability part. The green sustainability is, of course, that we aim for a remarkable low CO2 footprint. And if we compare ourselves to others, and I think it's on Friday this week, the 24th October, we will release the first report to the market, to other players in the building industry, basically giving all our design, our tests, our thinking, our insights free, and let other people just steal it with pride or without pride. Basically just do what we have done, because we have, I would say, best in class low CO2 footprint in this urban development across all houses.
I think that by the time this episode is published, the toolbox will be published as well. So I will add it into the description, or I will share the link in one way or another. Because what I like about it is basically creating the open source approach to urban development, and I feel like this is something that is very useful because everyone benefits from such a approach. And you mentioned that you work with consultants, you work with architects, and I was wondering how it is for you to manage such a big group of stakeholders, where first you've been working with the master plan, and then you work with different consultants to design the public spaces. You design the houses, and I guess there are several different architects involved for the houses. Then you obviously have engineering, then you have all the utilities, and then you have the municipality as well. So how do you bring it all together?
Yeah, that's it's a little bit of a puzzle. Of course, I have a team myself, and we have also hired in externals to help us to be the client and lead this forward. And then, of course, in-house in Kirkbi, I have some very good colleagues helping with the legal, with the finance, with the communication and stuff like that. So it is a little bit of a mix between in-house, external partners who help us. What we have seen is that since there are, from a value perspective, there are so many good topics and focus areas in this project, so it's relatively easy to get people to fall in love with this project and lean in and actually make it happen. And we have actually seen that sometimes we need to say to people, this project is a little bit heavy, it's chaotic, and maybe this is not the right project for you, because it is a lot of things that we want to try out, we want to fail, we want to succeed in stuff, and we want to explore stuff. And at the same time, we also have an obligation to deliver. Of course, it creates a certain pressure on people, on the organization, but it balances up with the motivation and also talking to each other about, okay, now I'm a little bit under pressure, can you help me on this? And I think we have managed. It's a little bit weird that we are both external and internal. So we have different organizations who work as one client project organization, but there is really a lot of sharing knowledge and sharing mistakes and sharing failures and also successes when we do that. It's super motivating. I just have to say that. And then, of course, we also have a company and the owner family who is super motivated and ambitious. They want us to succeed in this, and they can see that we need a certain space also to explore if we shall succeed with this. And we have this space. It's very motivating.
Since from what I know, you don't have a design background yourself, was there a one thing that surprised you while working with architects?
Well, I'm an engineer, but I'm a lousy engineer. I have never worked as an engineer because I think I'm better at leading and steering other people. I think I've worked with architects and engineers and contractors and designers for 20 plus years, so it's not new for me to work in this way. I think maybe I have a capability to meet the designers and architects where they are, but I'm also very strict and clear in voice when we meet the first time and say they need to tell us what they're good at and what they're not good at. Because if we figure out afterwards that they have sold something in and they were not good at this, then we get a little bit unsatisfied and unhappy. Instead, if they tell us up front what they're not good at, then we can actually help them find people who are good at what they're not at. And it basically, at least that's my experience, that if you are very firm and strict in making this alignment up front, it also makes it easier for them up front to say, we are very good at this, but maybe you need, or we need help when it comes to, I don't know, soundproof through walls or whatever. Okay, then we can go and find an external partner who can help us on that. But I get a little bit tired and a little bit under pressure and let them feel that I'm under pressure if they sell something in that they can't deliver on. We don't have space and time to go down these alleys.
What's your own wish for the project's future? That's been a big part of your professional journey, which is continuing. So do you have any thoughts around that?
Well, the success would be that I come in 10 years, let's say so, and just listen to people either walking through saying here they would like to live. They would really like to live. And they say, wow, this is a space where it's actually a space for people here. We would like to live here. Another thing that I'm really looking forward, maybe in the short-term perspective, is people moving in and taking over. I mean, we have done a lot of work to make a backdrop, but it's only the starting point. I really hope that the people moving in will just take it as theirs and just build on it and make it fly even more and make it their own home and put on some ugly and some beautiful stuff on the facade and windows and stuff like that. I hope they will take it and make it their own.
So to summarize, that's again the invitation to play around and make it your own. That's great. To summarize, could you recommend a book or an article or a report, something that could inspire the listeners further?
Well, when it comes to play design, we are also the gentleman from Design School Kolding. He's called Jes Ur. He's done a PhD on the chaos/orderly, and it's called Playful Tension. And he's done some articles about it, and he's also writing an article based on Travbyen. And I think if you are a designer, if you are an architect, this is my recommendation to look in that direction. If there are other books, I don't know. I think maybe this is because, I think we are maybe good at sharing reports and stuff like that in the building sector, but we're maybe not so good at taking input from the outside. And that's why I recommend this playful tension thinking, because it actually adds value to design, at least in my perspective. I think that would be it.
Okay, but that's a great recommendation, the playful tension. Let's share it with the listeners. And I hope that we managed to get some people interested to check the project, maybe travel to Billund, not only to see Lego, but also to see this development. I will definitely do it as someone who is interested in urban development next time I'm in Billund. For now, thanks a lot for being in Urbcast and for sharing the story behind this very interesting urban development.
You're very welcome, and you're also very welcome to see it come to life.
Thanks for staying and listening to this outro. If you would like to get to know something more about Kirkbi and Travbyen project, you can find the links in the description of this episode, as well as the link to the book recommendation. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you soon.